100 Thieves. I don't think FakeGod's going to go back to that matchup, but maybe if you want to go tank, you can go something like Sion. I guess you could go Gragas, but again, after the nerfs, and I think after the last experience, doesn't feel like the most fun place to be. But I don't really know what to pick here if you're Dig. I think they maybe debated like what they wanted their last ban to be, but we'll see how the top lane shakes out with Renekton being picked so early on the Team Liquid side. However, this does give Dignitas priority on their bottom lane, and Neo's Kalista has been real good in pretty much all the games he's played on it this year. So going to take it here, and perhaps alongside Aphro's support pick, they don't want to give too much away, or just take the jungler available in the pool here and give Dardoch a leg up. Although to Dardoch's credit, he's pretty good at jungle, pretty good at counter-picking jungle too if you need to. So Azir, the surprise pick up here for Soligo. He does love this champion, but we thought nobody would love this champion on 11.5.
Well, the confidence picks that Dignitas have right now is what they're going for. Neo has already blinded the Kalista before. He's done incredibly well on it. And Soligo, yeah, it got nerfed, but if it's a champion that you're comfortable with, that you can draft and it will synergize against dealing with the Renekton diving in, this makes a lot of sense to me. So Dignitas going for complete comfort here. And honestly, their champion pool is wide enough that the Kai'Sa, the Alistar, and the Narban shouldn't really affect them. Yes, they have played a lot of Alistar before, but it's not like Aphro has relied on this champion to be good. His resurgence has included a wide amount of champions in the support role, whether it's the Rells, the Threshes, the Alistars. He can play pretty much anything right now and have a good showing. This is why Dignitas has been doing so well, and their bottom lane has been impressive in particular. So I think that they'll still be able to figure something out, although Team Liquid is getting a very powerful AD in response. The Tristana that we've seen from Tactical, once you hit that critical mass where you can outrange the Kalista, it gets really tricky. So I need to see what Dignitas can do in the early game, and that's right, it's going to be the Thresh Kalista combo, so you can really see a lane dominance happening in the bottom lane. So I think that junglers will have to pay a lot of attention down there, because if one of these ADs gets ahead, it gets really oppressive.
But just like think about the perception of this patch as well, right? Like Dignitas effectively traded like one of the worst picks on this patch, right? In air quotes, worst Azir, for one of the best picks in Rell, which they could have taken there potentially alongside the Kalista. Instead, Aphro going to opt for Thresh here. So pretty dangerous. I feel like Digger just giving Liquid all the good champions on this patch, but saying, hey, we're comfortable with our style, we're comfortable with our champions. And again, like you said, definitely comfort here on their side so far. Lilia, though, going to be banned away here for Dig. Certainly a very strong jungler still, and Dardoch deciding he doesn't want to take it this time. And then Hecarim banned away. Probably quite a lot of junglers getting traded here, actually, which I think if you're Dardoch, feels pretty good, because you've already shown how many different champions you can play. But Santorin's plenty out large on the champion pool as well, so not going to be too worried here in Phase 2.
You feel great as Dardoch. If you keep drawing jungle bans, you know that that's not going to affect your game plan at all. It's just Team Liquid saying, we think this champion synergizes best with your composition, and it'll hurt ours, so we don't want you to have it, because Dardoch will be able to pull out anything he wants, really. I was watching some Dignitas voice comps. Kane game, doesn't even need to practice. The team trusts in him. And besides that, an interesting point that I've heard from them is they have this little acronym, the TED acronym, which is Think, Execute, and Dominate, which has translated to some pretty impressive team fights where you can see them really know how to kite back against the engage that comes out. And so here against the Rell, which we have seen be such an impressive engage champion, if they can play these team fights how they have done in the past, which has allowed them to win in just the craziest circumstances like the TSM Wolf Pit fight, then I think that the Rell power pick diminishes in how strong it is.
I think it's a cool acronym, but I prefer Tactics, Execution, and Dardoch for the Dignitas side, because they do seem to follow him around, which I even heard Soligo actually talking about. He had an interview with eSports Heaven where he's talking about, like, yeah, we pretty much just follow Dardoch around. He's going to be playing Skarner this game, so a pretty good jungler to be following around. But, you know, if he's making a good call, he is one of the veterans here, it's probably a good call, which is one of the reasons I think this team has had such a easy time gelling together early on, despite having a very, like, different mix of players, both in experience levels and also experience playing with each other. So we'll see what happens here, because Sion got banned alongside Veigar is getting locked in. This is I guess at this point, kind of an old counter pick to Azir.
Yeah, so I think the last time we saw this was actually from Nisqy into Azir as well. So the idea here is that you don't really have anybody with crazy dashes. The Skarner is going to have a hard time against the Veigar, although don't be fooled, because yes, the cage can stop somebody from running at you, but once that turbo chem tank comes online, Skarner can actually just zoom past you before the stun comes online and just pull you right back out. So the cage playing around that is going to be key for Team Liquid, and it's going to be really dangerous combined with the Nidalee and the Tristana. But the Gangplank in the top lane as a response to the Renekton is going to be an interesting matchup again, because of the last time they played, Alphari had this matchup again, and we have seen FakeGod improve significantly. So all my eyes are still in the top lane.
It's exactly what I was going to say, Crumbzz. You mentioned it already. Last time the top lane met, it was not so good on the FakeGod side. This time, FakeGod going to be fighting Renekton with fire here as he last picks GP for Dignitas. So very different. Lots more skill expression, lots more opportunities to potentially out-trade and potentially solo kill your opponent, although Alphari has done a pretty good job of killing people basically anywhere on the Rift when he's in some sort of 1v1. So FakeGod going to have to demonstrate that improvement here. I mean, that's kind of the reason I think this matchup is so cool right now. Not just because of the standings implications, because Dig are so close to first, and Team Liquid are actually 1 win behind that 10-win number, but have a lot of room this weekend to potentially go from kind of anywhere between 1 and 6, it feels like, depending on how their results go. And this is kind of a big test for Dig, right? We talked about TL being a team that we expected to be on top of the standings. They looked great in lock-in. They haven't looked as good at times, and they've looked amazing at other times throughout their roller coaster season here in the LCS, whereas Dig have just kind of been on the up and up, right? This is a stock that if you bought, you'd be very happy with your position. So can it keep getting even further, Crumbzz? Can it go to the moon? Can they take down Team Liquid? That is the question here as teams take to the Rift.
Exactly, the Dig stock. You've already made so much money at this point. You know it's not even coming down because they're already in the playoffs. So you're just holding on to it and watching how much more money you can make. Whereas on the side of Team Liquid, it's the expectations that have set the bar for them so differently, because this team, with the amount of resources spent to put these players together, you have to perform, right? You have to get to the top. Now, for all of these teams, it's simply a matter of making playoffs, and if you're good enough, you should be able to beat everybody there, but it's still a matter of going into playoffs with the confidence that the improvements that you made in the best of ones have actually put you in the best position. And we need to see Team Liquid actually take down Dignitas right now, because we thought that they were going to come back and have an incredible surge. We heard from them that they were going to go 13-5, but turns out that was just a joke, and they're still needing to improve significantly, because at this stage, it doesn't look like they're going to be the for sure champions of the LCS.
This is so wild. This is like the anti-level 1 here from Alphari. FakeGod is like waiting for Renekton in the brush with his passive, and Alphari is already waiting for FakeGod, but unfortunately for Renekton, Trial by Fire still pretty good, so just going to get the 1 hit and back away, but doesn't get zoned off the wave early, which is something we've seen pretty often in Gangplank versus everyone matchups in top lane. So I think across the lanes, actually, we can expect excitement potentially in all these matchups, but FakeGod, as kind of expected here with the Gangplank early, is looking good here at level 1.
One of the most impressive things of Alphari has been his laning phase. That last game in the lock-in finals against Fudge, where he just bodied the top lane with the Gangplank, really showed us what the Gangplank can do at the level 1. So he knew that what FakeGod was up to and plays it quite nicely here, just making sure that he stays far away from the Gangplank so he doesn't get autoed to death, and queuing every single time to make sure that the bone plating goes off and he can make sure that he has a good trade. So it's fascinating to see how FakeGod is actually playing this matchup, because this is not the player you would have ever expected to keep up with Alphari when the season began.
Such a nice little mind game almost there from Alphari that it does get a barrel kill, but it's kind of a lot of that. You have to predict some auto attacks and try and read your opponent. Tactical though, eating damage here in the bottom side, because Dig and Aphromoo have won the race to level 2, but actually not done in the top side apparently. But Alphari really taxing FakeGod's mana here. Out of Corrupting Potion charges, does have a biscuit here. Level 3 now though for the GP is going to mean Alphari has to tread a bit carefully. And both junglers are coincidentally, or maybe not, towards the top side of the map right now.
They have to speed up here, and now they're going to have Nidalee be there first, but Skarner is following. Oh, FakeGod is in so much trouble here. He has to run down to the river to his jungler. Okay, 2v2.
Can they turn this around though? Dardoch going to make it happen. Santorin the target, has the double loss, flashes away though. Really good timing there for Dardoch, knowing he had to cover for his top laner like you mentioned, and that's the freest flash he's going to get all week probably.
And that actually should get him the top scuttle, and might even be able to run all the way down to also get the second one, but we got a skirmish between these two. Santorin doesn't have flash though, so it could be dangerous for him. back off, and now the mid laners are joining.
Soligo here, yeah. Top lane the new mid lane though for Team Liquid because Alphari's here as well early. FakeGod staying on the wave, so Crumbzz going to go to Santorin. Dardoch could have had coverage there, but instead decides it's not really worth the scuffle. Didn't exactly see where the top laners were playing here, but FakeGod couldn't make it. Out of mana too by the looks of things, so he's going to chill out. And Soligo been farming very nicely there in the early levels, but Dardoch at least gets the crab here on the bottom side of the map. It's always important to get one, Crumbzz. Dardoch makes sure he does keep up.
It's fine. It's fine for Dignitas because FakeGod gets to recall, gets to get back into the lane, and you know that Nidalee has to path to the bot side. There's no more camps up here, so it's going to allow the Gangplank to stay in this lane with the Sheen, which is going to be really annoying for Alphari, who has to stay because the wave is crashing. So he sacrifices the crab to make sure that his top laner is in a fine position, and it's what you want for the Gangplank. He's going to be able to farm up, and now the wave gets to crash back against him, so he sacrifices the top crab to make sure that his top laner is in a better spot, and that's the kind of teamwork you want to see from the jungle and the lanes.
Oh, it's still so bad for Alphari right now. You don't have a jungler. The wave's pushing away from you. Your GP is on top of a barrel. I mean, he's trying to navigate as best he can. But Alphari, again, is going to eat some barrel damage there for FakeGod, who's now level 5. Pops the Q, pops the grass. FakeGod playing us really nicely with the Sheen. But Alphari keeping up in CS, just going to have to try and pick his spot to go back here because we know Santorin is not coming anytime soon. And Alphari, I think, just has to give up now.
He does. And unfortunately, though, it's still going to make sure that FakeGod hits level 6 before. So that could influence the bottom lane as well if the Thresh and Kalista want to go for something. He TPs back to the top side, though. Make sure that he doesn't miss out on any CS, and we're back to the 1v1.
That barrel not go off. Alphari now going to proc the Conqueror and keep going. Has the cull, but big chunk of damage there done to FakeGod. I have no idea what happened with that barrel, but FakeGod perhaps mistiming it ever so slightly. Alphari, though, still eating Qs, so this is the problem. GP into these melee matchups and keep shooting you.
With the Sheen, the damage becomes even higher, but at least he's now strong enough to actually crash this wave, so it's not going to hurt him much. And finally, he gets a reset in. With the Cole, it seems like he's just looking to power farm, and he'll be able to split push against the Renekton. You see how well he's actually playing in the 1v1s, and here comes the Nidalee. They're trying to dive, and how close is FakeGod to level 6? He's going to hit it off the cannon.
Yeah, Alphari got another wave there. There's the ulti down, but the dive is good. First blood is over to Alphari, and FakeGod unfortunately wasting the flash in the process.
So close there to actually being able to survive just long enough, but it was the initial trade that Alphari had done that got the oranges out of FakeGod that then made it so that he couldn't flash away from the spear. And once again, we see the reason why the Renekton gets paired with these AP junglers. So autos that one, gets the ultimate off, but he was already too low. It was the initial trades with the crashing wave that Team Liquid recognized as the opportunity to dive the Gangplank. And once again, the top lane advantage that Alphari has is how they have won many games, and it's how they beat Dignitas the first time around.
Yep, so FakeGod gonna walk back, no ult, no flash, no TP. Down 10 CS as Alphari is gonna return to lane with the steel caps. Leans back in his chair, feeling pretty good about how things are going in the matchup so far, but Dragon does go to Dignitas, kind of expected there with Santorin showing topside. We'll see if they can keep snowballing here though. Team Liquid up about 800 gold or so. Not doing too bad here as Jensen's chilling out. Got the Verdant Barrier, feels just fine right now against Azir despite being down a couple CS.
He's fine. The Veigar outscales pretty much most mid laners. The damage that this champion does in the late game is insane, and you guarantee an engage with the cage. It's so difficult to enter that zone control that Jensen can provide for the team. So as long as he just stays relatively even with the Azir, he will remain with the one-shot potential against everybody on the side of Dignitas, but they're all really squishy. It's only going to be the Skarner that's going to be able to survive a little bit, but once he starts stacking that AP, this is a champion that can easily hit 1,000 AP.
Yeah, pretty curious what Mythic Jensen's going to go as well. You have a conventional damage Mythic, so something like the Andrews has been pretty popular on pretty much every mage. Could of course go Ludens. Rocket Belt, though, is kind of the item of the past for Veigar, but Everfrost feels pretty enticing on this champion as well if you're trying to line up the engages in particular. So we'll wait and see. I'm going to admit, Crumbzz, I'm not up to snuff on current Veigar builds in this season, so I'll let Jensen do the educating this game around.
He's not the most popular champion in the champion that we wanted to see that Jensen had been spamming that was unorthodox was the Andy.
Yep.
It's relatively similar in that you do have high burst and a lot of crowd control. So pick that same mold. And if he's going to be playing a little bit more passively as he has been this season, this is a champion that constantly allows you to offer great value just from your stun. You don't even need to hit your most of your damage. That ability is so powerful and the CC is so long. Once you get enough cooldown reduction, it becomes nearly impossible to enter a choke again.
If anyone wondering about that, Jensen spammed a bunch of Annie and solo queue, and everyone wanted him to pick it, and the Team Liquid tweeted saying if it got X retweets, he'd play it. We got the amount of tweets. He still doesn't play an Annie, so we're holding it to him there. All year it looks like his Dardoch is going to be forced to flash out here because the Rift Herald fight is not going to go their way. CoreJJ already roamed up, so Dignitas looking for some exit kills here. Alphari perhaps on the menu. He does get chilling smoked, but gets away there with the flash and the dash. Soligo can't quite catch up.
Ooh, Dardoch was a little bit too ahead on the play because everybody from Dignitas was there. You see that Neo had already roamed here, so they had a numbers advantage, which is why they kept going, and Alphari flashed out. But unfortunately, the cage on Veigar was too good to keeping him there. And without that flash, the power of the Skarner gank is really just not there. It becomes too obvious for him, and we'll probably have to wait for that cooldown to come back up.
Oh, CoreJJ with the nice bounce around. Dardoch there over the top, looking for somebody to sting. But no one forthcoming there. Hook though. Ooh, I love the fadeaway hook there attempt from Aphro as Dignitas try every piece of engage to get an engage on the mid lane, but instead they'll just get nothing and continue to have Santorin pressure this top side of the map with the Herald already done after that scuffle we saw earlier. FakeGod is going to struggle to hold on to this tower as he continues to fall a bit behind in CS, but keeping up as best he can, but he knows he can't stand here with Santorin in the area.
Yeah, and it's the fact that Dig went for that play into the mid lane that showed the position of the support and jungle that made it so that Santorin could just stay up here and zone out FakeGod. Now, look at the vision that they're playing for Alphari. You've got the double control wards, not just in River, but in the Tri. You have Scuttle, wards at the Herald. It just allows him to be so incredibly aggressive and not be in any danger of Dardoch ganking him. So FakeGod doesn't know that Nidalee's not here, so he has to back off. The vision is too much. You know that your jungler is not there, and as a result, Alphari gets even more. He even has to pop the ultimate to crash in those minions.
Yeah, just going to try and get what he can with it, basically, because FakeGod is doing the right thing, which is not getting killed, but as you pointed out, Crumbzz, all that vision, TL, all that setup they have, means that FakeGod does just have to play back there, and Alphari is getting massively ahead as a result. Dardoch over the top, needs to try and get somebody. There's the sting, landed over the top, baby, let's do it! CoreJJ is going to get dragged all the way back to the tower, and the Bloscone is going to keep him alive. Are you serious? That is the least dramatic finish to that. Oh,
but it was so cool. But it was so cool. They almost had, I think if Aphro used the Ignite, maybe they would have actually been able to prevent the heal from doing so much work against them. But you see what the Skarner Thresh combo can do. We finally get to see it, but it doesn't net a kill. So it is anticlimactic, but it now instills some fear in Team Liquid into what Dignitas comp can do.
All right, Hook's gonna, oh, Hook barely gonna miss. So tactical. For sure was getting hooked, but he didn't think so because he held onto his flash, fighting Neo, they'll know. Never a good time, as Tactical is going to be forced to flash away. The Ignite comes in handy, but Santorin's down here. Alphari's coming in too, and Aphromoo and Neo are in trouble. Aphro going to try and do what he can. Fate's Gold pop box is used as well. Into the alcove we go. Soligo, they're going to scoop him out. Finds the wall. Jensen down here, but they can't get anything else. As Dignitas with a very crafty escape.
That was really nice. Lots of sidestepping there out of Neo, dodging out the spears, biding their time with the Fate's Call as well, and even the Azir shuffle to disengage. Now they can lose this dragon, and it's going to be fine because FakeGod is getting some damage in the top lane, getting some plates as well, getting the Gangplank back on track. So that advantage that Alphari had, transitioned it to the bottom play, and it's only going to net a dragon.
Yeah, I mean, not too bad, as you mentioned. I think FakeGod is happy to take the gold that he has been zoned off of for the last few minutes in top lane, so it will be a trade of those Drakes. Team Liquid do pick up the Infernal. That means the Soul and the Rift for this game is Mountain. Not the most exciting, but certainly just fine. Again, no one ever complains about getting the Dragon Soul Crumbzz. As FakeGod has also finished his Essence Reaver. So despite all the attention Santorin and Alphari have played him in the top lane, that's really a lot of the lead. It's, 1,500 gold up for TL or so. Each team has a Drake now. No one's really got a tower just yet. Although, as I say that, Santorin looking to finish off the top side with that Rift Herald. So the gold lead's going to grow a little bit longer as FakeGod is once again forced to play back. And Alphari continues to get gold funneled into his lane.
I really like that Team Liquid continues to play through Alphari and has doubled down on it with the composition this time around. Because if you remember the games that they played last week, he pretty much solo won the game against Cloud9 with the side lane kills that he got on both Perks and Fudge. And once again, if you can just continue to get him ahead, you know he's going to be able to find some more gold for you. And now they're going to get a tier 2. It's not a big deal, though, to lose this tier 2 unless Dignitas doesn't get anything down here. And yeah, they're actually not even set up for a dive. This wave was not crashed, so it's actually just a big advantage for Team Liquid. Dig did not have a play to answer.
Yeah, Alphari even going to get aggressive on a FakeGod, going to force out the W, I believe. That was a very valuable barrel. Kills the Rift Tiles in the process, as most of the wave also evaporates. But as you mentioned, not really much of a trade there for Dig. Dardoch got the red buff, I believe, stolen away. Going to get this Raptor camp here as well. And now Soligo is going to maybe roam down here for the bottom lane play, but Aphromoo and Neo actually doing enough work themselves. Attempting the 2v2 dive on their own means that they are going to get most of this tower dead. But if Tactical and CoreJJ stick around for too long, they're going to find themselves in a 3v2 against this Skarner as well, though Aphro does have to push the wave alongside his AD carry, and Santorin is also here for the 3v3.
I think Dig knows that Santorin and Alphari are down here. That ward should have spotted them, and if not, the one in the first breath should tell them. So yeah, they should definitely not go for the engage. And Team Liquid is just saying, well, the play that you could have made was in the bottom lane. So if you try to go for it, we're here to answer. And we're back to just a bit of a stalemate here, as without Dardoch being next to a blast gun, he's not going to be able to make that play again. He can flash over and do something, but we know that there isn't quite enough damage to take.
It's time for round 2, Crumbzz. I don't know if Dig are going to go for it, but certainly it's on the table. Instead, the Scottercrab's going to go to Team Liquid, and they're going to take a base here instead. So Dig just going to try and sweep out the vision. They expect the Team Liquid to grab. Dragon isn't up for a 225, so no need to rush there just yet, as Jensen is moonlighting in the top lane, scooping up whatever farm he can. Not quite at the Mythic just yet, but can't be too far away. As we can see, Alphari, top of the charts there for total gold alongside Santorin. And Jensen also, just barely above Soligo, has been farming very nicely here, despite being down in the farm. Oh, there we go. Soligo caught back up. I wondered how that worked.
Yeah. And the Azir nerfs weren't really that bad. I mean, he did lose, I believe, it's 10 damage, so you obviously do feel it, but what you want from the champion in his shuffle, his mobility, his ability to kite back in the team fights is what I think they want from him here. So the damage, I think, really won't show up a lot. The comfort is so much more because all the other control mages don't really have the option of the insane mobility and displacement that they can't have in a team fight. So I like it, and he's farming fine, and they don't have to take this team fight either. They have plenty of time with these compositions that we've seen what Dignitas can do when they get to these late game team fights. Sometimes they just have better hands than their opponents, and so many games are won just by outplaying, as we have seen from leagues like the LPL or the LEC.
It feels like more than sometimes for Dignitas. They got 10 wins already. Definitely been very good together as a 5-man squad. Not too far behind in gold, as you mentioned, though. 2,000 or so now, but that next Rift Herald that Team Liquid acquired could extend that lead a bit more, although thanks to the work in bottom lane, FakeGod actually got some gold there in bottom lane, and Neo's going to try and get some here in mid, but Tactical is going to put an end to that particular avenue. But did do a lot of work there. Can't be too much more if left untouched with the tower. Dignitas will be able to break that open. So kind of my big fear was that they weren't going to be able to open up the map and lose more towers to the Herald, and then the gold lead is kind of less reflective of the problem, whereas like the fact that you can't move anywhere without TL just being so far ahead of you strategically and map position-wise means that it can be very tricky in the mid-game, especially when you're trying to fight with these dragons and barons. But Jake have already opened that up, and I think are doing a nice job here of just trading where they can. CoreJJ going to get hooked out of the sky as well, but Dardoch not going to follow. As we kind of already saw, Rell not the softest target to try and pick off there with the Skarner and Thresh.
And Jensen is already TP'd, and he has gone for the Everfrost too, but here's Alphari once again with the 1v1.
The battle is once again happening, and FakeGod is losing horribly. Alphari looking for another solo kill. Flash it in there. The tower's going to make good work of it, but Alphari is going to get it in the end as Dardoch now going to chase them down. But now he's going to try and TP out. They have spotted him though, and Dardoch flashes and gets the ulti. Soligo here as well to finish off the job. They are going to get the kill, but how long is it going to take? Rift Herald pop there in mid. Alphari is finally going to die to Soligo. But mid lane counterplay has already happened here as Neo and Aphro cannot defend this tower versus Shelly, Tactical, and Jensen. And TL are going to translate that down to the Dragon here. So both top laners dead. 25 seconds for Alphari versus 10 on FakeGod. But Team Liquid first to the Dragon should be able to get it.
How many times is Alphari just putting Team Liquid on his back with these 1v1s? That was huge. But because he's dead and doesn't have teleport, Dignitas can just stall here. They don't have ultimate, but they're going in.
Tactical's a good target. They can get Aphromoo going to start off the ulti down, but Jensen just blows them up there. And now Tactical's flanking the rest of the team. Neo with the shield blow is not enough as Soligo pops one back and tries to get a kill and does indeed slay CoreJJ. Santorin and Jensen low, but not dead just yet. And Alphari and FakeGod are both back here. In fact, there's FakeGod. TP'd back in after getting 1v1.
Yeah, so he dies, has teleport, so Dignitas goes for a fight that they see that they can actually win on that, and that was, it looked like they were just gonna die in there, but they knew what they were doing, they had enough damage, and now FakeGod gets to return, and this Dragon continues to live, but he knows that it's Alphari here. Does he know that Santorin is here as well? He needs to back off or else he's gonna die again.
All right, runs away. Let's use the W carefully here. Barrels up. Q's gonna land. Just hit. And that's an easy follow-up there for Nidalee as Santorin's gonna grab that kill. Alphari just keeps setting him up.
Gotta respect Alphari right now. Team Liquid continues to play with what he's capable of in the sidelines, and FakeGod needs to back up. At least Dignitas will be able to take this Dragon because of the resources spent on the Gangplank, but ooh, one person would have died there if that was landed.
Lucky to be alive for Santorin and Alphari as CoreJJ is going to reinforce. Tactical not too far behind, and Jensen also on the way. So in a 5v4, Dignitas is going to grab the Drake and get out, but don't get any extra kills for their trouble, unfortunately for them. But let's watch this one again here, because this was a wild one, Crumbzz.
Okay, so he goes in because you actually catch Tactical, right? You get the Tristana and you have the Gangplank ultimate, but here when Tactical jumps back in is where it starts to go wrong. I think had they disengaged, Team Liquid would have just been able to get 2 kills and gotten out, and then the Dragon.
Instead, it's Dig to get the Dragon, but they had to sacrifice FakeGod to do it. Kind of an interesting exchange, all in all, but gold's still creeping upwards there for Team Liquid, which is good news for them. Up about 3,500 right now as Tactical is busy in the side lane, does have the Kraken Slayer completed. Also, Banshee's done for Jensen, and it is alongside Everfrost, as we suspected.
And Banshees is a really good item here because there's not a lot of random spam that can actually catch you. The Azir soldiers, as long as you keep a distance, won't hit you. Skarner will have a really hard time catching you. He'll have to smite you first and then use the ultimate on you, and it'll prevent you from getting hit by a Thresh hook as well. And Gangplank is not going to hit you with a parlay on that as well, so this should keep him very safe and allow him to continue to spam these cages in very comfortable spots.
Feeling good there is Hack Slash here. Channel for CoreJJ. Magnet Storm pop, gets 2.
Wow.
Follow-up is there. Good with the attract repel into the cage. That's just absolutely filthy as Aphro is going to be forced to flash. Plays back Santorin, but this Q is good, and that's going to be the second kill as Santorin secures the double.
That was beautiful there with CoreJJ and Jensen right on the edge. Not only with the Rell ultimate, stuns him there. Baron is up, and without Neo, this composition will have a really hard time fighting this. I think this is entirely Team Liquid. There's no Blast Cone or Flash on Dardoch. He has no way into this pit. Team Liquid can zone him off, and they don't even try. It's a free Baron off that pick.
Yeah, it does affect Slash, but probably ambitious to try and get that one happening with Division. Team Liquid have already set up, so they will indeed take the Baron just under 22 minutes. Team Liquid with the decisive play out of CoreJJ. Who'd have thunk it? As they'll continue to grow that lead. And now this is a problem, right? Dig were kind of floating a gold lead that was acceptable, but it's gone from like 3,500 to 6,000. It's only going to get worse with this Red Bull Baron power play.
And they could just continue to dive FakeGod. Yeah, he's going to have the shield bow online, but Alphari is really strong, and Nidalee can just show up in his lane. They're not going to be able to defend against 1-3-1s if Team Liquid wants to go for it. They already have a QSS as well onto the Renekton, so catching him is going to be out of the question with the Skarner. And we need to see what Alphari is up to here because he's really setting the bar for what top laners are doing in the league. Unanimously agreed upon by the top laners as the #1. All
right, well, Team Liquid, again, trying to get as many towers taken as they can with this Baron. I'm going to kill the Sun Tower, but that one doesn't count, unfortunately. You do get a little message saying you destroyed a tower, but you don't get any like juicy tower gold. So Dig's still defending, but Alphari going to get the easy one first here in the bottom side of the map, and Poke is still coming out for Santorin. Dignitas can't really walk through the jungle because TL have set up champions and vision. There's going to be a long way to try and transfer between them, and Dardoch is going to get stunned up here. Dark Lanter's good, but the Lantern's real nice for Aphromoo to get Dardoch out there safely.
Those Merc treads really doing in work, but now Team Liquid have successfully cleared out most of the vision. It's only this ward, and now the control ward denies it. So that makes it life for FakeGod that much harder, because if he ever steps up, Santorin could come out from the Fog of War, and suddenly the Gangplank is dead, and now you've lost the side lanes once again. So he has to back off again. Team Liquid plays really well with the vision around Alphari, and a thing that Alphari has been doing is just faking pressure when the jungler wasn't there. We saw it in the laning phase, just pretending that Nidalee was still there, that a dive was happening, and FakeGod has to respect it, because if he doesn't, the danger and the loss of dying there is just way too big.
Looks like Alphari is going to be able to finish off this tower. Does get hit by a barrel, though. The rest of Dig are reinforcing. So Dignitas can't really chase because TL are already back to mid with the inside track that they've set up for themselves here through the enemy jungle. So they'll take down mid tier 2 instead. A very disciplined split push here in 2 lanes for Team Liquid with the Baron, but it does net them the tower they were after. And they'll probably get at least one more here, as Alphari should be able to finish this off with Santorin still beside him. And indeed they will. So 6 towers now for Team Liquid, growing that gold lead up to 7,000 now.
Yeah, and Red Bull Baron buff will fade in 20 seconds, which allows them to just crash these waves, go back into the Dragon, and then reset right away. So they're just being very methodical. This looks like one of the better Team Liquid games, and you want to see this team hit these kinds of notes. And it's unfortunate that I think the perception of so many teams is that they're not consistent because of best of ones, but it's the nature of a best of one where suddenly you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you might just not have a solid showing. But if it comes to a best of 3, a best of 5, the tenacity and experience of these veteran players always shows up.
It's interesting to me, Crumbzz, because for me, I feel like that is one of the things that I would actually think Team Liquid's very good at, because they are so consistent. They are such a well-drilled team, such a disciplined team. It's kind of made Dig that I feel like have maybe thrived in that environment, and they can certainly still take this game, even though it isn't looking dire. I think with the gold lead at the point it is at, especially with the Drakes being equal, it's going to be a long time for Dig to try and contest one of these big buffs. But we've seen their team fighting in action already last week, and throughout all the LCS regular season so far. So not out of it, but going to be tricky here to navigate against Team Liquid that do seem to be, I guess as you mentioned, on the right side of the bed this morning.
Well, the danger is that you only have Dardoch to get you back in it, because that's the only way you're actually going to find the engage. The hooks are not going to happen, really. You're dealing with the Banshee's Veil, Tristana, Renekton in silence with the QSS, so maybe the Alistar ban really was that dangerous for Dignitas, because it's only now a single member that is able to really execute on a solid pick, and Team Liquid is now permanently grouped. They don't no longer need to be side laning, and that's going to make it so much harder for you to actually catch anybody by themselves. So as long as they keep tabs on where Dardoch is at, they really should not be in any danger of losing any members without the rest of the squad collapsing immediately.
I agree mostly. I think Soligo's heroics could potentially make something happen, but there's a long shots, right? Like, Dig don't have easy avenues to try and start fights. It's like a lot of very specific things that require a lot of individual skill and kind of things that is to break your way in spots that Team Liquid is honestly not going to give you more than anything else. They're such a good team at shutting down any of your avenues back into the game, which is why this kind of gold lead, or even the one before where it was, 4, 5, creeping up to 6,000, as soon as I got the Baron, it just feels like, okay, the game's kind of over. Like, it's not, but Team Liquid are just so good at shutting you out of a game once they've gotten a lead that it feels very, very hard to play against.
They're really clean at closing, and especially not overreaching, because they know that they have strengths in the Renekton. They know that you just wait for him to crash a wave so that Dignitas can respond, and then they can be aggressive, because you see right now he's back here, he's in the wave, and they don't need to do anything just yet. They can base, they can reset, and make sure that when they have 4 members pressing on another side of the map, Alphari is at the same time crashing. It's that synergy between waves being pressured with who's strong in the sidelines and the rest of the team that really puts the fire under Dignitas.
And again, kind of to remind you on the Team Liquid side, what they're playing for with this win. Their schedule is kind of a mixed bag. Not all that easy. There are 9 wins right now, currently behind Dignitas, TSM, and 100 Thieves are all sitting at 10 wins, so a win here would tie them in second with 3 other teams, because that's just how it goes these days. And Cloud9, again, after that loss, only one win ahead of everyone else in second, still sitting in first. So very precarious standings right now, which I guess is the way it goes these days. The weekend before playoffs are set to begin.
Well, if TL wins here, we'd have a 4-way tie for second place.
Yeah.
So we're going to see
potentially like a many-way tie for first also, depending on how the results of the games go.
I mean, that should be the strength of the region, right? Multiple ties for first place. We got a lot of first-place teams here.
Not yet, but we could. And we certainly have a lot of second-place teams. It could be adding one more to the roster here if Team Liquid can finish off this game up against Dig again, though Dig still... I feel like it's almost one of those things that's a bit of a meme where the later the game goes, the more comfortable maybe Dig starts to feel. Again, very confident in their ability in any sort of team fight. It's getting the team fight that's proving to be the tough part, because look at what Dardoch has to do to try and get in there. He's on to Jensen, though. That's the target he wants. And he just gets stunned up forever. And CoreJJ round the back with the Magnet Storm as Tacticals leaping into battle, and Team Liquid looking to clean up as Soligo's diving in, trying to finish off a few more kills. FakeGod and Aphromoo have peeled off, but Alphari's just so strong. Santorin going golden. Jensen in there as Tacticals leaping into battle, and FakeGod's gonna die, and that is gonna be the ace and the game for Team Liquid.
Finally, we see the Skarner go for the engage, but it is way too late. You see just how strong Team Liquid is, and the cage is too. He can never draw the Veigar back into the lineup, and Team Liquid is going to secure themselves that second place tie after this win over Dig.
Yep, right idea, but just couldn't get it done. Dardoch tries for the play, it doesn't work out, and Team Liquid take that fight all the way to the enemy Nexus as Dardoch is taunting them in the fountain, but Team Liquid are going to take the victory.
They are still a team to be reckoned with. Don't think that because they lost to CLG, this team was out of it. They are still veterans, and world champions are on this roster.
I mean, Crumbzz, who hasn't lost to CLG at this point, all right? That's not even a bad thing, given how well CLG have been playing recently. But Team Liquid with a pretty clean one there up against Dig. Expected this game to be maybe a bit more competitive than that, but Dig not able to find it here. And it does feel like Team Liquid, as it kind of often do, Crumbzz, perhaps, you know, rising in power at the right time here. You know, one lock-in, definitely felt like that was a rough transition for them, moving from lock-in champions straight into the regular season. Had some very up and down games here, but again, with the race for first and second, especially being so tight here, with playoffs going to be decided at the end of this weekend, Team Liquid certainly feel like they are in the right position to claim one of those top spots, which is not something we might have thought in the middle of the season when things were rockier, although certainly something we would have predicted at the start of the season.
Yes, and what Team Liquid has going on for them is the trajectory that they have consistently shown. Is like, yeah, it took a little bit of a dip, but they are consistent in the way that they're getting these wins, and it's very clean when they do, and that's something that no other team really that is near them in the standings can say, which is what is so scary about them, because once they get that formula down that you can apply to every single game, no one can touch them.
No, and I think like we expected Alphari to maybe get an edge here, and I do like that Dignitas tried to challenge that a little bit more with the Gangplank, but Santorin was the big difference in that top lane for me. Like, Veigar was actually playing really well 1v1. He was using the early strength of the Gangplank to try and pressure Alphari, and then Santorin made it a no-fun zone. Dardoch was there for the first gank, but he didn't show up for the second, the third, or the fourth, or the Heralds that came up there. It just felt like Alphari's advantage kind of carried through the rest of the map.
We're back to what the beginning of the year was. Just play to the top side, these top lane carries, get the AP junglers with the Renekton, and it guarantees you a very strong pressure point to advance your lead. And when you got a top laner like Alphari that can find these 1v1s consistently, it's so easy to drive the win home, especially when you got a jungler that knows what he's doing and exactly attacks at the right time.
I think Crumbzz kind of the other thing to think about here is, did we learn anything about the mid lane on 11.5? We didn't expect to see Azir. We saw Azir. I think Soligo played fine. It felt like actually he was pretty comfy in the early game despite getting counterpicked. Not that Veigar like smashes Azir or anything. That's not really why you pick the champion. But I do like that Jensen kind of showed that like, hey, I can play other Everfrost champions too. It doesn't have to just be Syndra and maybe Orianna. I do like that he's kind of willing to dip down and play something like Veigar and kind of show that like he's more than just these control mages that he's also very good on.
Well, being able to add your own flair is something that we always wanted to see from Jensen because he practices so many champions. So finally getting to see it might actually spill over to other players in the league as well, because this showing on Veigar really highlights how useful he can be against the kinds of junglers that are played right now that don't necessarily have dashes, but just run straight at you. Like you saw the Skarner, couldn't do anything against Veigar. At the Rift Herald, at that fight, gets trapped, nowhere to go.
Yeah, I think the other, I guess the biggest consideration, or the thing I would take away from this game is like, it's a very small sample size, right? It's just one game between these two teams. But 11.5, has shifted things a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. And I do feel like Dig's draft was a lot more about what they wanted to play that they were comfortable with, rather than considering some of the power picks. To me, the biggest one is like taking Azir and giving away Rell. Because Rell is so powerful still. And I think we've seen every team that's had the opportunity to pick Rell has taken her very early on. I don't think she's gone second support in any of the games we've had so far today. And to give a player like CoreJJ that champion especially, it just feels like you're setting yourself up to get beaten by one good engage. And that one good engage kind of happened and the game fell apart.
You want to have these champions that have that X factor that can always find a way back into the game. And unfortunately, without the Alistar, Rell really was the second champion there. So I'm with you. If you really need Aphromoo to be on an engaged support, we need to see a higher priority of getting his pick early and not having to then fall back on something that isn't going to influence the map nearly as much as the Rells or the Alistars.
All right, well, at the end of the day, it is another clean Team Liquid win. We'll see if they can repeat that throughout this weekend. We're going to be headed to a break, but don't go